while we wait. Alright, can you help me find a good spot for this so we can see her? Because it's got to be facing that way. Because my mics don't work.
That looks pretty good.
We could also put it on the table back there if we
So
need
it's not
to.
so close, or?
Oh, that's good.
It's good?
Yep.
Okay. Sure?
Oh.
Ollie, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. I don't know if sitting here is going to interfere with that, is it?
No, it's fine. Oh, maybe the typing would.
Well, hello, Molly.
Good to see you.
Thanks for coming out. Yeah, we're so excited. I'm gonna probably snag you and come to my 202 class too. Yeah. Cause only 2 people here.
202, which one is it?
It's a civil procedure 2.
Okay.
Yeah, we recently read them.
Okay.
So Monday nights at 5:45.
I've never done civil, but
Oh!
I tried.
Compare and contrast, right? Hi, everybody. Is everyone doing well?
Yeah.
Excited to be here? You're gonna be in for a treat.
Don't oversell it too much.
No, Molly's been, she was phenomenal student, so I think she make a connection.
It's very sweet.
She was a past Pararlegal club president too.
Do you guys want me to just take over? Are you gonna like an intro or what
Oh,
do you want to do?
we're gonna do our announcements and stuff at the end, so.
Okay.
And Stephen, do you want to be in charge of timekeeping?
Sure.
Just we'll give you like a sign when you have 10 and 5 minutes left.
Sure.
1 o'clock or
We have to be out by 12:30.
Okay.
So like we have to clean up at like 12:35.
Okay.
So.
Well, my name is Molly. I'm currently working as a private paralegal, which I didn't know that existed, so I'll go into that a little bit. Basically, I accept work on a contract basis, on a case-by-case basis for the federal courts. So it's criminal defense work. We have a federal public defender that takes a lot of the indigent defendants from the federal courts, but a lot of times they'll have a conflict and they won't be able to take a defendant. And when they're not able to do so, they'll appoint a CJA attorney. And CJA attorneys are private attorneys that are contracted to do defense work for the federal courts. So they're still doing public defense, but they're private attorneys. So I do something similar. I'm a private paralegal. I get appointed through the attorney. So once these attorneys are appointed to a big case that might need a paralegal, they go and find one, and sometimes that person is me, and they bring me on, and I assist them on just that one case. Currently, I'm appointed to 2 cases in the Arizona District Court. One I've been working on for 1.5 years, almost full-time work just on that one case. Hi, welcome on in. So it's really a massive case. Our disclosure is almost 4 terabytes worth of materials, which is about 4 times what your normal laptop can handle to store. There's almost think 350,000 pages of disclosure that we have in that case. Hundreds of hours, thousands, tens of thousands of hours of video and audio materials. A lot of the times these federal cases have a lot more law enforcement money behind them and into them, so they do these really long investigations that span 5-10 years. So it's really a lot of material. So a lot of the times what the attorneys need in these cases is someone who knows how to manage these materials. So what I do is organize, rename, and sort the disclosure into something meaningful for the attorneys to use. Usually when the government hands these materials over, they're just pretty scattered, sometimes not even numbered, sometimes not even named in any meaningful way. So it's really difficult for the attorneys to see what the government actually has on their clients, which is pretty much the most important part, right? So I'll build indices, large Excel indexes that explain every piece of material that the government has. So you can sort by the Bates number or by who's being interviewed or which law enforcement officer interviewed them. That's a large part of what I do. I also do litigation support. So I'm actually in the courtroom, helping them prepare for hearings and trial. The attorneys don't usually want to make their own trial, mark exhibits, and make sure that we comply with the court rules. So that's a lot of stuff that I do as well. So actually getting these large amount of materials printed, the government in one of the cases that I'm on right now has noticed over 85,000 pages of exhibits for trial. So, I mean, you can imagine, it's just massive, massive binders full of material that probably won't actually be used, but if it's noticed, we have to be prepared to know what it is, know where it is, know how to find it. Kristen, actually, I think she's the co-president of your club, right? She sent me a couple questions, which I really appreciate. Is she here right now, Kristen?
No.
She broke her arm. So.
Oh, no. Well, please pass along my gratitude for the list of questions that she sent to me. She really did my prep work for me, and I really appreciated it. So some of the things she asked me are, what are the pros and cons of contract work? Pros, I get to work from home. I get to make my own schedule. The pay is really great at the federal level. I was driving on the way over here trying to think about the answer to this question because I always come up with more cons than I do pros because I'm just an inherently negative person. I always like to look on the dark side. But the biggest pro is that I have respect. The attorneys respect me. They're grateful to have me. They're really appreciative. When they have work for me, they'll send me an email saying, hey, if you have time for this, I would really appreciate your help with it. Instead of a lot of the times, I'm sure it's like you're just at the beck and call of attorneys as an in-house paralegal. So that respect and gratitude is what keeps me going. I mean, they really are appreciative, and I appreciate them so much. Cons, there's no benefits when you're a contract worker. You're never going to get healthcare or paid time off. If I'm not billing for substantive work, I'm not making any money. So they say if you want to bill 4 hours, you're actually working 6. The federal system is very slow also. So if you're doing federal contracts, you'll submit an invoice at the end of the month or at the end of every 2 months. And you probably won't see that money for another 3 months. So the work that I'm doing today, I won't get paid for I'll submit at the end of October and then I'll see that 3 months later. So in the beginning, that was a definite hardship because there was 3 solid months there where I wasn't getting paid and still having out-of-pocket expenses. the binders that the attorneys needed for court, I needed to purchase and write off as an expense later. And you know, the money comes back around, but it's on a delay. So that's something that you need to be prepared for.
May I ask a follow-up question?
Yeah, of course.
So you're employed by the court system, not by under contract with the individual attorneys? That's
So
what it sounds like to me.
So I'm not employed at all.
But you're hired.
I'm contracted, yes.
Right.
Through the courts, right?
So that's where your pay comes from, as opposed to billing the individual attorney you're doing the work for, and then he or she pays you.
Exactly, yeah. I'm sending that bill to the court, and then getting paid by the federal treasury. Yeah, great question. Please, if you guys have any questions, please just ask away. Yeah.
So with 85,000 documents and exhibits, if you can't bill for non-substantive time, like back-end stuff, how do you find enough time to bill to, you know, meet a financial goal with all of that back-end? I mean, 85,000 documents is a lot of...
85,000 pages.
Or 85,000 pages.
Right. I mean, it is a lot, and there is a lot of times where I'm like, man, I wish that I could just bill for this. But a part of it is having the integrity and knowing that, I mean, I literally tell them how much I work and they pay me for that work. So, you know, if someone wanted to, they could probably scam the system and you would get caught and you would never work again. So a big part of that is having the integrity to say, okay, this is what I actually worked, this is what I'm billing for, and getting paid for that, and just knowing that the rest of the time that's your expense as your own business. I mean, I'm basically a business of one, and I have expenses that I can write off on my taxes, my personal taxes. But yeah, it can be a struggle to bill. I usually try to bill 4 hours a day. That's my goal, and that makes me enough money to live happily. Anyway, next question for Kristen. How did I become a freelancer, and how do I get enough work? So obviously I went to PIMA. I graduated last August. I worked really hard here. That's honestly how I got this job. I mean, this is, obviously I'm a little bit biased, but I think this is probably the best job that a paralegal can have. I mean, you have the independence, you have the time, you have the money, you have the respect. I mean, this is kind of what a lot of paralegals are aiming for. And I got here because I worked my butt off at PIMA. I did really good in my classes. I gained the respect of my professors, and they wanted to root for me after I graduated here. I did the internship class. That was a really big part of why I am where I am right now. I did my internship at the Pima County Public Defender's Office. And again, worked hard there. I showed up every day on time, willing to go to court. I showed up in a suit, you know. A lot of the other interns showed up in just their normal clothes, but I knew I wanted to go to court. I knew I wanted to gain that experience, so I dressed for the job. And I got a lot of experience doing that internship there. I highly recommend that. Because then when I graduated, I walked in May here at PIMA, but I still had to do some summer classes. But after I walked in the graduation in May, I thought, well, I'm only going to be taking a couple summer classes. Maybe I should apply at the county PDs, try to find a job in the meantime. And thankfully, the county PD's office didn't work out. I didn't end up getting hired there. And I was like, well, what else is there? You know, so I called Stanley Westwell, who was my criminal law professor here. And she said, I have a referral for an attorney that you should call. And I called him, and I forget his name now. I think it was something Green, but he's a criminal defense attorney here. And he said, I would bring you on, but I just hired a Pima paralegal graduate, so I don't have any space right now. But I have a recommendation for you. You need to get in with the feds. Don't try to go to the county. Call my friend Eric Rao at the Federal Public Defender's Office and beg him to give you a job there. And I thought, oh my gosh, I have anxiety. I hate talking on the phone. It was hard enough to call him. The last thing I wanted to do was cold call a federal public defender and beg him for a job. But never miss an opportunity, right? I mean, you never know when something's going to lead to something else. So I swallowed my pride and I called him. And for some reason, he was like, no, we don't have anything, but I could send your resume out to the CJA panel if you want and see if any of those attorneys need a paralegal. And I thought, I don't know what that is, but cool. I mean, maybe that'll turn into something. So he sent out my resume to all of the CJA panel attorneys in, I believe, Tucson. And by some miracle, 2 of them were looking towards trial in a couple of months. They needed a paralegal. And it happened that one of those attorneys had been working at the Pima County Public Defender for 30 years. And when he saw that I had interned there, that was an immediate connection. And he thought, oh, I know what she's been through, I know what she can do, and I'm willing to bring her on. You know, so they took a chance on me. My first job ever was a federal contract. And like I said, I did that for a year and a half. I just recently got onto another federal contract because the first one's slowing down a little bit. And I'm also doing contract work for a paralegal company. I didn't really know that existed either, but one of the paralegals that is working on the federal case with me has her own company in Missouri called IPS Paralegals. And she hires and trains CJA contract paralegals to do the job, basically. And she hires me on just sort of a task-by-task basis, and it helps me supplement the other things I'm doing. And she pays at the end of the month, so having something a little bit steadier is nice, right? And then very recently I got my 4th job, which is I'm going to be working as a office manager, office assistant for a small law firm here in Tucson. And that opportunity again came from that very first federal case that I got. One of the attorneys there, representing one of the co-defendants, called me up and said, we just lost our office manager, and the first person I thought of was you. Is this something that you'd be interested in? And I talked to her a little bit more about it, and she's willing to mentor me and teach me the why of why they do what they do, and I'm really excited about that. Because I still have so much left to learn. I've been doing this for just over a year and a half, and I still learn something new almost every day. I mean, there's so much to know, there's so much to learn, everything is so interesting. When I was here at Pima, I wasn't sure exactly what I wanted to do, which field of law that I wanted to work in, until I took a criminal law class. And immediately I just connected with it. I just thought it was the most interesting thing ever. And so that's what I decided to pursue, and I'm so grateful every day because I'm legitimately excited to get up in the morning and do my job, and it's amazing. Next question from Kristen. How did I gain paralegal experience? School here at Pima. Do well here. Do well in your classes. Try to learn the material. Don't just try to pass the class. I mean, you literally serve no one by just passing the classes. If you actually absorb the material, then you're really investing in yourself. Also, the internship, again, highly recommend. You literally can't go wrong with that. Work experiences, anything notable? It's so hard because this job is so amazing, and I want to sit here and tell you all the cool stuff that I get to do, but that's kind of the burden of it too, is I can't say really anything about it. But I did want to tell you about my first day at the county public defender of my internship. I showed up, and the first thing that they wanted to show me was the case that they were working on, which was a homicide. The husband had stabbed his wife 54 times, almost decapitated her. And the first thing they wanted to do was show me all these crime scene photos and talk about how crazy this was. So they just sat me down, and I saw all of this horrific stuff, and I went home that night and I was like, oh man, I really thought I was strong enough for this, but I don't know. And it kind of comes back to you when you're laying there at night and you close your eyes and you're like, oh god, this is horrible. And I thought really hard about whether or not I should go back, because I knew if I was going to go back, then I was going to do it, and if I wasn't going to do it, then I shouldn't go back. And somehow I just pulled myself up by my bootstraps and walked back in there, and that was the best decision I ever made, because learning how to power through that is a really important part of this job. You need to be able to compartmentalize and deal with it. You know, there's some horrible stuff that you have to deal with, some horrible people, and also some really great people that make it all worth it. Okay, what do I wish I had known when I started? This is a good question. Always have something to take notes on. If you're walking into an attorney's office, you need a notepad, you need a pen, and you need to be listening and writing down everything that they're saying that you probably wouldn't remember, right? Post-it notes are always good. Everyone always needs those. Extra pens. I mean, you need to be able to write things down and not forget them. I actually brought my little court bag. I don't know if this is actually interesting, but this is what I bring to court and to hearings, like all of my backup office supplies. Because this is things that the attorneys need and they never have. Little stapler, little paper clips, tags for marking in the exhibit binders. These are little exhibit markers that each exhibit will get one of these. Post-it notes, Sharpies, and pens. And again, all this is stuff that, you know, I have to buy and I'm responsible for. And if you work as a paralegal, as an employee, they'll give you those things. Other random thoughts I had that I want to share with you guys. Skills and abilities that might be helpful for you if you're interested in criminal work. Integrity, definitely. Organization skills, that's for any paralegal. That's really what I feel like I'm there for, is my organizational skills. Make sure that everything goes smoothly, runs smoothly. Everyone has what they need. The attorneys have what they need to be able to do their job in court, and that they don't have to worry about whether the witness has the exhibits to look at. Self-motivated, definitely, if you're working as a contractor. If I don't work, I don't get paid, and no one's going to tell me to work. No one's going to tell me to get up and sit at my computer and do my job. I have to want to do it. Computer skills are another big one. Specifically for a CJA paralegal, all I do is work on the computer. Excel is really big. The computer class that we are required to take for a degree here was really helpful for me. They went over Excel and Word and PowerPoint. I think that was it. But the Excel portion, oh my gosh, pay attention to that. Really, because it is so helpful. And so many attorneys don't know about it as a resource, but it is the best way to organize these materials in a meaningful way. Other skills that could be helpful. Oh, Adobe Acrobat, definitely. You need to know how to use Adobe. You need to know how to extract portions of documents and resort, rename them in a meaningful way. You need to be calm under pressure. I often have to drive up to Florence to go to the federal corrections complex and meet with clients there alone. And if that's something that you don't think you can handle, I mean, you can, first of all, but maybe not something that's for you. I mean, it is a little intimidating. My advice to you all, do well here in school. Be honest, be kind, work hard, do what you love. If you really enjoy this, you will go far. If you really care about legal work, a specific area of law, you're going to do really well because it means something to you. Another important part of criminal work is knowing that all humans have value. Just inherently, you know, we all deserve respect. You're going to work with people that you could easily just say, that's a horrible person and they don't deserve my respect. But the reality is there are no bad people. There's just people who do bad things and good things. So going into it with an open mind and, in a way, an open heart, but obviously, protect it too. Another random thought, this job is very PC centric. I went into it with a Mac and very quickly realized that was not going to work. So if you're in a point where you're looking and getting a computer, please get a PC. The hard drives that you'll need to store materials are only compatible with PCs. It's just so much easier. So yeah, I don't know, do you guys have any questions for me? Any thoughts?
So since you are contracted in everything, did you start your own LLC or do you just go in as an individual?
Right now I'm an individual. It's really a personal choice what you want to do. You can totally do it as an individual and file individual taxes, or you can incorporate and become an LLC. I've heard that has a tax benefit.
Yeah, to get that.
I think it does too.
It's a business. There's always a tax benefit with the business.
Right, yeah, but it's also much more complicated.
Yeah.
And I have a horrible accountant. He's like 95 years old. He screws me over every single year. I don't know why I keep going back to him, but I think if I did that, that would really just break him.
That's something to discuss with your accountant. I'm a realtor and we're all independent contractors and some people are LLCs.
Yeah.
And I would just say that that's for you to discuss with your accountant and decide what arrangement is the most beneficial for you.
Yeah. I guess like would the courts allow it too?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. The only thing I filled out for the court is a one sheet piece of paper that gave them my name and social security number. And you could just put your LLC number. They do a background check, I suppose. But it really wasn't too much because, I'm independent. It's not like they're bringing me on as an employee, so it's not as intensive as actually getting hired by the federal court. Good question. Anyone else have any questions? I know you do.
Was your computer class CIS 120 by chance? Do you remember?
I don't recall.
Is it 217? What's the
I think it's P.
217?
I know for me it was PAR 212.
Part 2 as well.
It was a CIS. It was a computer specific class.
So my math class is all Excel. It's Excel and data entry, but all we're doing is Excel.
That's great.
I mean, there's like a minimum portion of math, but there's a lot that's heavy on Excel.
That's great. You'd be super prepared then.
That's a class you're taking here?
It's 106. It's spreadsheets and data entry.
Oh, that's good to know.
That's perfect. I wish I had taken that. For sure.
I thought it was required because it's like it came up on the team where it's required.
I think you're required to take some computer, and you have a couple different choices.
Yeah, I think it was 106 and something else, but I don't know.
Yeah. If you can take as much computer class as you can, I mean, unless it just you know it, but there's so much with Excel that you wouldn't just be able to intuitively know. You really need to learn specific formulas and ways to enter the data, shortcuts that you can take.
It's
True.
really complex. Like, I don't even understand it.
Well,
I
you
get so
will.
frustrated.
You will, though. You will. Yeah. Any other questions?
What are some surprises or like curveballs that have been thrown at you that you've had to deal with?
Basically, everything in the start was a curveball because starting as a contractor, I had absolutely no one to ask anything. I literally went from school to being a completely independent paralegal. The first thing they asked me to do was create exhibit and witness lists, and I was like, cool, I don't know what that is. You gotta know how to Google. I just put in District Court of Arizona. I mean, you learn here that all of the specific templates that you need are going to be on the court's website, right? So, District Court of Arizona, templates, exhibit and witness lists. sometimes specific judges have specific ones that they would like, and it just says it on the website. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. So I just downloaded those and figured it out along the way. Same with basically everything. I mean, really, I just had to figure it out. I'm someone who loves puzzle solving, so that was a big part of it for me. I loved being like, oh, okay, this is a new task. I had no idea how to do it. Let me figure out how to do it, and let me do it really well. And then the other thing in this job, too, is you're not going to get much feedback. They're not going to say, oh, great job, this is... They're just like, cool, you know. And you only hear about it if it isn't right, I imagine. So self-motivated, motivated by solving problems, willing to work without much outside input and motivation and help along the way. I mean, no one's going to give you written instructions like they do in school. They're just going to say, you know, write up this motion to continue, and you just got to kind of figure that out. And you have the bare bones of what you need to know from school that can take you far enough, you know. The basic structure of the court system is really important, and we learn that here. Knowing if they need case law, which courts you're going to pull that from, knowing jurisdiction is really important. When I was doing my internship, I remember a specific time where they asked us to pull case law, and the intern next to me was pulling from just generically every single court and finding a lot of good cases on point. But me specifically knowing that I needed to go only Arizona was important, you know, because she did all that work and found all of these cases that they couldn't use. So, yeah, good question. What was your question?
I'm curious at what you're running into in the practical practice in terms of AI. I mean, we're talking a lot in our classes about AI, and I'm just curious how prevalent it is. Are you using it? Are other people using it? Are there problems with it? Any experience?
Absolutely no. What are you guys learning about AI?
I think since she works in the government's gonna, like you said earlier, they take forever, so it'll probably like 50 years before they start implementing it.
I mean, is there like AI paralegals out there? What's going on?
I don't know. The only thing I've heard with AI is just like...
There's the one court case, I know it was in New York, where there was an attorney that used AI for legal research and it just spat out fake
Oh,
cases.
yeah, I remember
And then
that.
like doubled and tripled down with the judge.
Wow.
It was really entertaining in terms of funny.
It can save you a lot of time in legal research, but the algorithm in the AI says that basically if it doesn't come up with a case law that you're looking for, instead of giving you no result,
It just
It'll
wants
make
to
one up.
please you.
and so
Wow.
it saves you time until it doesn't.
Wow.
So you're using AI all the time, right? So you're doing legal research and using some form of AI. What's come up now is there's what we call generative AI, which basically you can give it a prompt, and depending on what prompt you give it, it can spit out work products for you, right? So there's issues of confidentiality, and so that maybe like with the federal government, there's paid and free subscriptions for AI, and the free subscriptions generally have more challenges to them. But so you will see it in some form. Generally, the best use of AI right now in the legal profession is using it for some basic tasks that could save time, as opposed to like Steve was talking about. There's a really challenge with legal research because AI actually hallucinates, and it will. Yeah, it does. That's what they call it, hallucination, and it will make up case law. So you don't want to use it for that purpose, right? But people have used it for like a brainstorming instance, like if you're coming up with, if you had to come up with deposition questions and maybe having, putting scenarios like that, you can also add another perspective for like the counter positions.
Yeah.
But there's real issues of confidentiality in terms of making sure that you're not feeding information that's client sensitive.
Yeah. Wow. Well, that's really interesting. I'm glad to know this. I guess that is kind of AI. But to be honest with you, the attorneys that I work with are not computer savvy. I mean, they wouldn't know where to begin with asking AI to pull case laws. That's why I exist. So it's still very much old school. I mean, a lot of these attorneys still have their legal rules in paperback copies, and one of the attorneys I work with prints everything to look at it, to review it, and I'm like, but you could use it in a searchable way if you just left it electronically. It does not make any sense to me, but yeah, a lot of them are old school, so that isn't a problem I've encountered yet, but super interesting. I actually, now that you guys mention it, I got an email from so I don't have any access to like Westlaw or anything because I would have to pay for that and it's crazy expensive, so I use it's called like Case Search or something, Case Text. It's called Case Text. And they keep sending me emails about something AI related. And every time I see it, I'm like, I know it's going to use that. But apparently they are. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Any other questions?
Considering how you said you graduated and then immediately started doing this,
Mhm.
is that a path you would recommend to other people, or would you suggest going to get office experience first and then doing this?
That's a really interesting question. I recommend what I do. I highly recommend being a contract paralegal in the federal courts. It's really the best job ever. Is the way that I got there the easiest or best way? I don't know. It was for me. I mean, it worked out for me, you know? But you're going to know if that's what's right for you. If you value office camaraderie, definitely not for you. I mean, having support, definitely not for you in the beginning. I mean, there is something to be said for paying your dues, going into an office, driving downtown, paying for parking every day. I mean, builds character. But I feel like I did that a little bit in my internship at the Pima County. I feel like I did that a little bit and kind of understood what it would be like if I worked in an office, and I knew that it really wasn't for me. I like working independently. I always have. I hate group projects. I want to do everything on my own. That's just the kind of person that I am. You know?
How long were you at your internship?
Well, it's 150 hours, so it was a semester. Yeah. Yeah. Highly recommend the Pima County Public Defender if you're interested in criminal law. They do case after case after case after case. They always have a case in trial that you can go sit in, or in a hearing, or they're doing jury selection. I mean, there's always something that you can go do that's really interesting there.
Would they take us for jury selection? Because I know I know the courts don't usually like people who are taking some sort of like law class to be in jury selection.
Oh, definitely.
They don't even like people who say that they like crime shows and stuff like that. That's what I've heard.
For me, they did take me. I mean, I can't speak for anyone else, but yeah, definitely. I mean, I was there as a member of the Pima County Public Defender's Office, and I was allowed to sit in just like any of the other paralegals or attorneys. I usually just sat in the back and watched them do it and took notes on it and tried to help where I could, which was really not at all, but it was still interesting.
Yeah, you may make a distinction for being on the panel.
Yeah.
Because the courts are open, so
Okay.
anyone should know what in.
Oh, no, yeah. No, I'll never serve on the jury.
Yeah, that's
for
what
sure.
I
No.
So I guess I know as well.
I also got a lot of training on that when I was at the public defender's office. The attorney that was my supervising attorney there for the internship ran the training program, and I think that's still the case. The attorney I worked for since went to the other side, the dark side, if you will. But I think they still do it that way, and she ran a bunch of jury selection classes, and I got to learn so much about that and the mind games that you get to play, and it's so interesting, and it's even more interesting in practice. It's crazy. Hopefully, I'm hoping to go back to the U of A and get my bachelor's and then go on to law school and become an attorney, and that's one of the things I would be most excited for sure, is picking a jury. Seeing like what kind of bumper stickers do you have on your car.
They asked that.
I got to serve on a jury once before, long before I ever even came to school here. And they definitely asked questions like that, and I have no idea why they even let me on. I was literally 18 years old, little thing, but it was super interesting. That was a drug case. And I remember thinking at the time, like, this guy's so guilty. Like, why are you even talking about this? And now I look back and I'm like, oh man, was he though? Did they have enough evidence? I mean, it really reframes your mind. Yeah. Any other questions?
So what made you decide to go in the public defender route of criminal law, I guess?
Really good question. Is this stupid? I hate money. I hate the power that money has over people. I hate the influence of money. Working for a private defense attorney is all about money. Working for a private civil attorney is all about them making money. And I know there are good private attorneys out there in both realms, but for me, what gets me up in the morning is that I'm helping people who need the help. They are indigent, they needed counsel, and they would need effective assistance of counsel, they need a zealous defense. And being a part of that is what motivates me. So the money just doesn't do it for me, that's why, honestly. Any other questions? I'm surprised no one wants to know what the worst thing I've ever seen is, or like.
Oh, what's the worst thing you've ever
Yeah.
seen?
Sounds like it was that first case.
That one really sticks with me. Yeah, I mean, just the shock of. I mean, that's the last thing that I expected. I legitimately think they were trying to weed me out. They were trying to weed out the weak or something. But surprise, surprise, I came back. That was bad. A lot of the stuff I saw at the county was bad because, if you work in criminal law, you're going to deal with, obviously, everyone thinks murder. Yes, one of the cases I'm on right now is a homicide case. That's bad enough. Worse than that, child molesters. You know, it's awful. Animal abuse, that's a crime. Vehicular manslaughter, those are horrible. People get scraped over the pavement. It's truly awful. I mean, you will see horrible things, definitely. And it's your job to be able to work through it and just get past it. And it does get easier over time. In the beginning, you're like, this is horrible. If you have an interest in crime shows, if you watched I couldn't get through the Jeffrey Dahmer Netflix show that just came out. So if you got through that, you can make it, man.
Is it mostly pictures, or is it anything beyond that you're having to deal with?
All of the above. Yeah.
So you
Pictures.
actually see the crime evidence in the picture.
Like going to autopsies or things like that?
Oh yeah, that's the worst.
We have to index that stuff.
I've never been to one. I got to tour the office of the medical examiner when I was in my internship, but they didn't show us any dead bodies. We were all disappointed. But no, the pictures of the autopsies are horrible. I mean, you literally just flay you open like a fish. And you read the descriptions of it, and it's like, oh, the liver weighs 150 grams, and it's very visceral. I mean, to imagine all of us are just, bags of meat, and that's really all it is. With an electrical impulse going through our body, I mean, that's all it is, and it's kind of humanizing in a way, honestly.
It sounds to me like, in addition to really working on your intellectual knowledge and your skills, that you've really relied a lot on your instincts. Your instincts kind of led you, like you said, that first criminal law, that was sort of lit you up, and then from there, your instincts kind of, and I'm thinking that's probably, I'm a very intuitive, instinctive person, but I'm thinking that's probably really a positive thing because of some of the challenges you have had, that if you didn't have that instinctive drive to be there, you might not have been able to get over some of those things that you actually did see.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, I really want this, and I've always really wanted it. I wanted to be there. I want to go to court. I want to help these people. I want to help the attorneys. I'm lucky because I really love what I do. I know that so many people never get to experience that in their life, but I legitimately do love it, and I'm happy to be here every single day. I'm happy to talk to you guys about it. And I hope that I can inspire any of you to want to do this, to think that it's interesting. I mean, because it really is an incredible career path to go down. You will never be bored. Never. Are any of you guys interested in contract legal defense work? Yeah?
Well, I'm an independent contractor and I love it because it's my business.
Yeah.
So it's my standards, I take care of my clients, you know, my diligence, everything is from within me. And that's really important to me, and I don't know that I would be very good going into an office setting where all of a sudden
Yeah.
I've delegated what somebody else wants me to do, so that's one reason I'm so appreciative that you're here.
Right, yeah, no, I mean, you're perfectly set up for it. A lot of the difficulty in the beginning, I'll get to in just a sec. A lot of the difficulty in the beginning is figuring out logistically how you are going to be an independent contractor. How you're going to pay for out-of-pocket expenses, how you're going to track your expenses, your mileage,
Yeah.
your income, so that come tax time, you're prepared to pay the large amount of taxes that you will need to pay. I mean, it's shocking. 25% of my income approximately goes to taxes.
Estimated
And
taxes.
And you pay estimated taxes quarterly. It's a difficult logistical situation, but if you do the research and you know what you're doing, it's easy. Every time I get any sort of, it's called an invoice or an interim from the government, I deposit it, 25% goes to savings. I use the rest of it.
Yep.
But, you know, a lot of people struggle with that. They're like, oh, I got all this money, I'm gonna spend it all. And then come tax time, try to find a way to come up with that, and it's just really not the way to go. Yeah, what was the question?
What was your background before? Did you work? Where did you work, or like, how did you know that you were court? Because my name might not look right.
Good question. I wanted to talk to you guys about that actually. When I was 18 years old, I decided to go to cosmetology school because I didn't know what I wanted to do. I did okay in cosmetology school, graduated, and I worked as a hairstylist, I worked as a nail tech, I worked as an eyelash extension artist. And I made pretty good money doing that, and I was miserable. I hated getting up every day, I hated going to work, I hated my clients, I hated everything about it. And I didn't understand why, because I was doing well, and my bosses thought I was doing well, my clients loved me, and I just didn't know why it wasn't working. And then actually when the pandemic hit, everything changed. The cosmetology industry was shut down. I mean, you can't touch people when you're in the middle of a pandemic. And I had to sit back and reevaluate what I actually wanted to do. And I had to tackle my own inner demons of thinking that I was too dumb to go to school. That's how I always felt about myself. I dropped out of high school when I was 17 years old because I just thought I couldn't make it. And during that time, I was in a relationship that really boosted my confidence and made me feel like I could do anything. And it gave me the confidence to be able to go back to school. And I knew I wanted to do the paralegal program because my Aunt Joy actually had started the program here. And she passed away many years before I ever even got to talk to her about being a paralegal. I never got any of her advice, but I knew it was something that it would make me feel connected to her. So that's how I ended up here. And as soon as I started in the program, I just took to it. I enjoyed it. I did well in my classes, and that gave me the confidence to be like, oh, maybe I'm not an idiot. Like, maybe I can actually do this and do it well. And then those first round of grades come in, and I got all A's, and I was like, oh my God, I can actually do this. I did it. And that just kept me going, and I wanted to keep that going every single semester. And when I graduated with highest honors, 4.0 GPA. I had been the president of the Paralegal Club. Professor Bondway got me an Exemplary Student Leader Award here. And all of those things is what boosted me into this career, doing well here. Yeah. And honestly, what made me sure was just the feeling that I got doing this work. It just feels like what I'm supposed to do. If you've experienced that, I mean, you know what it feels like. And if you haven't, you probably will. And if you do, cling to that. I mean, if you can find something that you love to do and it makes you money, you gotta just lean in. Yeah. How am I doing on time?
You got 12 minutes.
Okay. Any other questions for me?
How long did it take you to get through the program?
2 years, yeah. Well, I also did a couple summer classes, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm planning to do. It was just a little confusing because on the thing it says like first semester, second semester, third, fourth, and it goes into like fifth and sixth semester. And it's like, I'm not doing like 3 years.
Yeah, if you could all do it all in 2 years for sure. When I started here, I had no idea what college was and what credits were. So my first semester, I think I took. I initially had 12 credits, and then I had to drop a class. So that first semester was a bust for me. And I spent the next 3 trying to make it up, but I just couldn't do it in time. So I ended up needing 2 credits over the summer, and then I graduated. Yeah. Any other questions? Anything you guys want to share with me? Like, are any of you interested in criminal law, not specifically contract work?
I've always, been interested in crime docs. I've been watching them since I was like a kid.
Yeah. If it's something that interests you, it would probably be something that you enjoy.
I'm kind of like similar to you, where it's just like, when I was in my 20s, I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I just like all over the place. I went to art school for fashion merchandising, and I was a real estate agent, and then I came back here and was just customer service. But over the last few years, while crime or the law has always just been something that I've been interested in, it's something that I've always absorbed and just like kind of knew. So,
Same. Obviously, I think we're all here because we're interested in the law, right? I mean, it's fascinating. I mean, the law is this. I mean, it's imaginative. It's not something real. It's not substantive. It's something that humans have created, initially arbitrarily, to maintain society. I mean, that alone is just so interesting to me, and why we have the laws that we do, and the laws that stem from common law, that those like just true moral wrongs that we've decided to criminalize, and it's just all really interesting to me. Any other criminal law people?
I'm gonna do probably the final question, and then you guys have business before the closing. So this is a selfish plug for the club, but are there any skills that you obtained or experiences from being a member of the Paralegal Club or the president that you would recommend or want to talk about?
It is all about who you know in this career, not necessarily about what you know, although that also is important. But the way that I continue to get work is through the people that I know, through referral. So if you have any ability to make connections with your fellow peers, with your professors, you got to take that opportunity if you want to succeed. If you want to really succeed. If you want to graduate here, pass all your classes, and take a random job, that's okay. If you want to do well, you want this to be your career, you want to succeed, you want to make a lot of money, you want to be happy, do it well, make connections, talk to the people around you, really care about it, and it will come to you. I have no doubt. I'm the shining example. I loved being the president of the Paralegal Club. I loved being a part of it. This really was the best part, getting to hear from people who worked in the field. When I was president, I got to bring people in to talk. I got to bring in one of the paralegals that I was working at the Pima County. She came in and talked to the class, and I know that got multiple other people interested in criminal law. Make connections, be kind to people, and you can't fail, really. Thank you. And thank you guys so much for having me. It was great, so thank you. I feel so honored.
Thank you.
We appreciate having you.
I just have a question.
Yeah.
I'm curious, what is your involvement with any of the professional associations, and what have you gotten out of that, or has it benefited you?
I'm not a part of any professional organizations. Again, I think it would be great. I mean, it's another way to make connections with people, so you can't really go wrong. I mean, if that's something that you're interested in, try it out. I think one of them has free membership for students here, so do that. I mean, it's free. What do you have to lose?
So what are you doing about CLEs?
I don't have any CLE that's required of me.